start yet?
Betsy, for years, my mother-in-law had a computer that she was in her 90s, learned and was really excellent with it. But she always had stuff covered, like she put her instructions over where the camera was. And she'd go through all the steps. It was before it was like Skype or whatever we do. And she kept saying, but her little paper that said things to do was over that camera. And she just
Love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So welcome everyone. We have a full room. Happy belated birthday to Kathleen from
Water.
Canada. Nice to see you.
Lifts
Um,
water. I have to ask somebody.
All right.
Oh, God.
Sounds like you
Have it.
have got Dr. Lou with you, Jackie.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Lou. All right. So today we are here to talk about security. It's something that we often talk about just a little bit. Sorry, just turning off my ringer here. A little bit, and we kind of dance around it. And because sometimes it's so overwhelming that I don't want to create a whole class about it, but today we're going to create a whole class about it because I think it's important, and it's important to stay on top of what the latest things are. So thanks to several people in the class. Oh, yay. Carol's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday. I'm not singing, but happy birthday. So thanks to several people who have shared their security protection emails with me. We have lots and lots of information and data on what the latest problems are. So I think where we're going to start is Carlene still in the room? She is. Carlene had, this is an aside, Carlene had talked to us about group messaging and sent me great details about the group messaging that the computer guy had told her about. And I did try that, and I still don't see how it works, but it's okay. I'm going to share those instructions with you all just so you know that you have them. Because I tried to get out of a group chat yesterday and manipulate a group chat, and it didn't work. But I'm glad it worked for Carlene. So let's talk about security when it comes to Google. Y'all know, or most of you know, that I really like and appreciate Google, and everything I have is Google. And good and bad, because Google is actually collecting information. I'm trying to pull it up. I'm talking as I'm thinking. Google is collecting information on us even before we know it. That sounds
What?
really weird. I know. It's really weird. I'm going to pull it up. Let me pull up the right one. Sorry. This was one that Linda had sent me. And, oh, I was looking at it this morning. All right, I'll tell you how we're going to do it. So it's another teaching moment. So I'm going to share my screen with my email. And then what I'm going to do is go to my history. So over here, everyone can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Over in my little dots next to my personal icon here, I'm going to go to history. And then I'm going to go to Pixel Tablet because that's where I was looking at it. And I'm going to come up here and going to find, oh no, I did not find the one on Google.
Android devices?
No, maybe. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Good call, Joyce. All right, so sadly, Android devices track you before you even sign in. So all of you Apple people can do a little happy dance right now. Basically, long story short, now of course I'll send you the link for this, is that with the Play Store, Google is tracking. So every Android device comes with Play Store. It's a Google operating system, just like iPhones run on an Apple operating system. And what they do is, without consent, it has 5 identifiers. Cookies for advertising, tracking, Google Android ID, A/B testing. I don't know what that is. It's talked about, it's more technical. Multiple cookies and identifiers that identify the handset. So going back to long story short, this is a big article on how this happens and what it's about. Stop the share.
Wow.
Basically, what it's saying is because it's not a website, because there's now laws that if you go to a website, if they use cookies to track you, they have to tell you that. And so you can either A, opt out of the cookies, or if they don't allow you to opt out, then you opt out of the website. If you don't want to be tracked, you just go, well, I'm not going to go there. Some do not give you much choice, some give you a lot of choice. So with having an Android device, you don't have the choice because you have Google Play Store. I am fairly certain that what's going to be happening with that is that people will fight that, just like there have been lawsuits against Google, and I believe that the European Union won that lawsuit about Google and monopoly, not the game, but monopolizing search engines, that again, people will bring Google to task and say, this isn't cool. You shouldn't track us without giving us an option to be tracked. And so I agree. I 100% agree. Google is tracking for their benefit. They say it's for our benefit so that they can tailor what they offer you based on what your choices are. And so, okay, that's fine. That's the company's option to do that. I personally haven't found that to be a problem for me because I don't find that they're doing anything that hurts me about it. So if you just don't like being tracked because you don't like being tracked, okay. Some people feel that way, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I don't think that that's my biggest threat in my life, so it's not one that I'm going to give a lot of attention to. But it is good to know. It's good to know that that's how that operates. Making us more informed makes us able to make better choices. Now, let's go now to the next thing that I wanted to share, which is talking about, let me go back, actual threats. So everyone knows what a CAPTCHA is.
No.
Okay, when you go to a website and it says, prove you're a human, tell me which one has sidewalks in this picture,
Right, yeah.
right?
Yeah, okay.
That's a CAPTCHA. And it allows, it proves that you're not a bot, that you're not an automated system trying to get information, that you are actually a real person. Well, now this is sad. There are now fake CAPTCHA websites that hijack your clipboard to install information stealers. So, and there's a couple of ways that this happen. It's not good, not good. So here's one that's just, I'm not a robot. And usually they don't look like this to me. Everyone that I've seen does not have just this floating box in the middle. It's embedded in the page that I'm just finished completing, right? And it's part of the document that I'm working through. So that's where it says it's not normal. Okay. And then here's the new one. Complete these verification steps to prove you're not a robot. Now, I've never seen this, thankfully, but this is fake. So do not do this. The ones where it shows a picture, which one has sidewalks, which one has a bus, where's there a motorcycle, lots of different CAPTCHA pictures where it's a whole picture and you're picking the ones that have pieces of it, or multiple pictures where you're finding which one, and it cracks me up because those are horrible pictures. You look and you go, is that a bus? I can't really tell if that's
Yeah.
they're not good.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, this one is very clear and it looks very definitive. It looks like you should do this. Do not do this at all. These are fake. This is actually being used. There's another article I was reading where this particular one is being used for hotels through booking.com, where when you book something with booking.com or any of those other travel agencies, send the information to the hotel or wherever, whatever you booked. And then they get that record so that they know that you booked it, right? That's how they get your reservation when you use an external travel site. And so what they've done is they're sending that particular screen, prove you're a human this way, to a hotel, and they're getting access to all the stuff in the hotel, data system. So that's disturbing. And I hope that hotels are paying attention to that and that they have IT specialists that are then training their staff. How do you protect yourself with that? And we're going to switch into a travel security thing in a second here. To protect yourself from that, you can book directly through hotels, because there's no way you can stop what's happening from a fake site sending something to a hotel and the hotel employee doing something. But if you're going to stay, do all your research on whatever site you want, see what kind of prices you're getting. And then when you see, okay, so, let's just say Holiday Inn was the cheapest one. So, okay, I'm going to go, and I liked the location and I liked everything else about it. I liked the rooms. Okay, so then leave that travel booking site, go directly to holidayinn.com or Hilton or whatever company that you're going to use. And so that you're booking directly through the company whose product you want. Same thing with airlines, rental cars. It's so much easier to go to booking.com and it's like they're going to give you this and then they're going to give you this, and do you want to add a car, and do you want to add a trip to Epcot or wherever, and you can do all of these add-on things. Maybe not a good idea right now until we get past this wave, and since we're coming up on summer, it's kind of appropriate that the hackers have found a new way to get into systems that seemingly we wouldn't have control over, but we do when we're booking these things separately. Good news for travel agents is that of the couple of articles that I read about all this, they also said, use a travel agent. I didn't even know they still really existed. Actually, I know a couple in the Keys, but they still do exist. But I always wondered, why do they exist? Because I can do everything online myself. Well, this is actually a good reason. Joyce, are you in Israel?
No, I was in Portugal.
Portugal. Okay.
Medina was in Israel last.
Right, Medina. And where is she today?
I think she's still there.
Okay. Nice picture in the background. Sorry, I got easily distracted. So if you use a travel agent, travel agents are going to be dealing directly with the company. Plus, it gives you another layer of protection, somebody who actually has relationships with places and is working through people. Yes, internet, but also working through people and establish relationships. So yay for travel agents. This might be, if you're going to do a trip, but particularly a complicated trip, you might want to go through a travel agent. Speaking of which, I'm going to call on my very favorite pro traveler, Jackie. Do you use a travel agent when you travel?
No, I usually travel through a company, Betsy.
Ah, okay.
Except I'm trying to do something without that company this summer. And I think I'm going to be going with a travel agent.
Okay.
I talked to one yesterday because it's simpler than my trying to do it.
It is. It is. And you travel so much that you have a savviness about you with your travel. Well, you just had a lot of experiences.
Yes, I have.
I've seen your pictures.
All 11,000 of them, right?
Is that all? You're sliding. You're
I
getting.
have. I've been cleaning it up.
Where are you going this summer?
Oh, I think I'm just going to Alaska again
Oh,
with some friends. Yes. Yes. I'm
Nice.
trying to make it more interesting than just the simple cruise.
Great.
Yeah,
We are looking forward to hearing the details.
great. Thank you.
Okay, so let me go now, since this is a perfect time to bounce into, all right, we're going to go ahead and finish this because I did get way off base. So there's the information about it. They go into great detail about it. We talked about it. And then what it basically does is it installs it, you're actually installing a program, a malicious program on your computer. So, how to stay safe? Don't follow instructions provided by a website without thinking it through. Use anti-malware solutions that blocks things. This says use a browser extension that blocks malicious domains and scams. I'm torn about browser extensions because some are good, some are not. And you have to be really do your research to decide to use a browser extension or not. Better to use an antiviral, and then you don't have to think about it. I mean, if you don't think about it, you can, obviously. But using an antiviral software that's going to protect you from malicious things as you're navigating the internet, then that's an easier solution. Yes, you pay for it. Don't do a free one, but you pay for it. All right. Now, it also says disable JavaScript in your browser before visiting unknown sites. Again, you can, if you like the hands-on kind of method where you want to do it all yourself, then you can do that. And there are instructions exactly here how to do that. And on and on and on. So there's all the details. I'm not going to read them to you, but I will give you this article so that you can, if you decide to do that. Otherwise, what I would suggest is to just use a antiviral. Carol has her hand up.
Patsy? Oh,
Let's do Carol and then Sandra.
What do we need to look for if we have made an air reservation already online?
Okay, that's a good question. So if you have, what I would do, let's just say Delta. You've made a reservation with Delta. I would go directly to the Delta website and make sure that your reservation is there. Does that make sense? You're muted.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I said.
Yeah, basically, that's what I would do first is go directly to whatever airline and make sure that it's there. Now, one of the things that it was talking about, we'll get to another article that is about apps and how many apps we use now when we travel. And I'm just thinking I probably have taken them off. I have, because I was, just in the Keys recently. I will download an app just before I travel, before I leave my house. I'll download the app. So if I'm flying Spirit Airlines, I'm going to download the Spirit app. I'm going to download the app for the car rental company. I'm going to download the app for a hotel if I'm staying there while I'm at my house, right? I'm not going to be using some other network to download stuff. I'm going to download it at my secure location at my house. I get the apps on my phone, and the parking app. There's always the parking app too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it while I travel, and then I'm going to take it off my phone so that keeps me safer and more secure because I'm not downloading things in unknown network settings where who knows, am I downloading the actual one? Am I downloading a fake one? You want to make sure that you are not in a rush to do that. And if you're standing, at the getting ready, standing in line, and you're at the airport and you're downloading an app, I just got what was that? There was a happy birthday. This reminds me that we need a few minutes to talk about signing in. Okay, Maria. Oh, that was you, Terry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So does that make sense? Going directly to the company always. Also, making sure, for instance, that you are we'll get to it. There's a long line of stuff, and that was a good question. Somebody else had Sandra had a question, and then Amy.
I was just wondering, I didn't get the emails and and so
Okay.
I'm wondering if you would be sure.
Yep. What's your
Yeah,
email
I was-
address?
Sandra LMT at live.com.
All right. I did send them to you because I remember that email address.
I bet
So-
it went to junk and I forgot to look in my junk mail, maybe.
Okay, look in your junk folder, and then I don't know how live.com works in terms of handling emails, but a good general rule of thumb is to prevent things from going into your junk folder is take the email address and put it in your contacts list. So this address I'm sending is from G as in girl, actually great. And then there are 3 H's.
H.
And then there's a number 4,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a U, the letter U. It
Okay.
stands for
Lowercase.
Great Heart Helping Hands for You at gmail.com.
Oh.
So make sure that you put that in your contact list. That identifies it. Then the other thing that you can do, most email programs have a way for you to identify favorites. And so on Gmail, you star it. You just put a little star. Somewhere there's going to be a way for you to mark it as a favorite. By marking, you don't have to leave it as a favorite, but by marking it, what you do is you train your program that it's not spam. And then the other thing, of
Wow.
course, is when you find it in your spam folder, make sure you select it, say not spam, put it back in your inbox, and then read it. And then what I do, which also helps train your programs, is I put it in a folder. So while I don't recommend keeping tons and tons of emails forever because they do take up data space, what you can do is create a folder in your email files that, tech classes. You can do one for all kinds of things. I'm a folder queen. I have a million folders in my emails. It helps me find things much, much easier than finding things by just doing a search for something. So
I
create
like
a folder
folders
for
too.
it,
Yeah.
then put it in the folder, and then that's saving it. That's how that trains your email. Oh, that wasn't junk. She took it. So every action that you do actually lets it know something about you, which is this put in the inbox, then she took time and read it because the amount of time that it's open, that you scroll through, those are actions that are being read. Then that putting it into a folder, starring it or making it a favorite, however your email program handles that, also helps with all of that. If you
Okay.
don't find those, email me because now you have my email address and I will resend them so you'll get a bunch of them all at once.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
It
Awesome.
could
Good
have just
question.
been something. Okay.
Amy,
No question, sorry.
you had your finger up.
I was probably scolding Jeff.
Okay. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Betsy.
He's listening. He thinks it's interesting. Okay.
All right. So now, since they're on the road, we're going to look at traveling. Let me pull up the share and find let's see, not that one, not that one. Not that one. Oh, see, I had that Android one twice. All right. Where did the travel one go? Oh, it's such a good one too. Let's see if it's there. It's not there. There is one about Social Security, which is pretty important.
Oh, yeah.
Real important. Now, I'm just going to send this to you. We have talked about this in the past. They're all going to say basically the same thing. The rule of thumb for protecting yourself is the same all over the place. So let me I apologize because I read this morning. I thought I saved it and I'm not seeing it. So you're just going to have to watch me go back and forth and look for it. Keeping smartphones secure. Oh, I think it's here. Nope, that's the Social Security one. Maybe it's this one.
What was it about?
It's about travel.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a great, great article. Here it is. On vacation. All right. Malwarebytes again. And Linda and Joyce, I'm sorry if you already read this, but this is really interesting because they did a lot of surveys. And so there's a lot of percentages in here on what people do. So you can kind of use this information to compare yourself. A little more than half of the people who took the survey said that they do worry about being scammed, while 40% admit that they worry about kids or family sharing trip details online. Most people say they will act on these concerns. 63% make sure their security is up to date. 53% back up their data. 10% say they take no precautions whatsoever. So think about whether or not you are one of these people. So, 20% say they don't think about protecting their data when they travel. 38% say they'll book their next travel opportunity through a general search. And there's the problem that happens is maladvertising. Here's the part about the apps. 66% say they use the apps. Majority of people will back up their data, 53%, and ensure their security software is up to date. 63% set up credit card alerts, 56%, and 10% don't take any of these steps. So there's the steps right there. We're going to fast scroll through here. There's a lot of good data. We're just going to go right down to the bottom where it says what to do. And here's the things that you want to do. Before you leave your house, back up your data. So any of your data that you don't want stolen, back it up. And we talked about backing up last week. Linda has a program, and I've already forgotten the name of it. Chime in.
Carbonite.
Carbonite. I know it was an element and I couldn't remember what it was. Carbonite backs up her data automatically. Setting yourself a reminder to back up your data once a week is a good thing. Then you don't have to think about it so much, and then you're not so far behind with backing up data. Once a month, okay, sure, if you want to. Never, not such a good idea, because then it's hard to recover stuff. Turn on Find My features. So find my phone, find my all the kinds of things that you can find, turn on those features. Protect with antivirus and cybersecurity tools. We talked about that already. Updating your software. This is something that we talked about last week, about the most important thing that you can do without doing hardly anything at all is making sure that updates are automatic, right? You set it, you forget it. That's going to make sure that you always have the best protection on everything. Here's the one that gets a little bit, we're going to do a poll in a minute here. Use a password manager and two-factor authentication. Passwords are important. They're very important. And then consider a VPN, a virtual private network, where you are going to be on the internet and undetectable. So,
Could you explain what a VPN? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
it's a virtual private network. It is like right now, I'm sitting at my house in Otto, North Carolina, and I am on my network, which is we've given it a name because we live on Stillhouse Road. The network is called Moonshine. Stillhouse, like a still. And so my husband named the network Moonshine. And so, lots of times when you go to a place and it says, when you look at your settings for the internet, and we'll just go right here, and for internet, the options are Moonshine Guest. There's my printer, and then there are some other ones that it's detecting, but they're a little bit further away. There is Q11-0D8C-guest. So somebody didn't name their network. They just took what the network name came with. Somebody else named it, there's Jarvis Net. Someone else is Truly Bear. So, there are networks around me and I don't have the passwords to them. They're all password protected. They have the little lock, as is ours. And so, that's your network. Where your internet comes from, where your Wi-Fi comes from, that's your network. If I decide to use my VPN, so I use private internet access VPN program, and that looks like this little guy right here.
Oh,
And so I tap on it and private internet access app comes up. Right now it's not on. And this is just for my phone. Right now, when I tap this, so this is now green, and I am now currently using the internet in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it is not identifiable that this phone is in Otto, North Carolina right now. It is in Las Vegas. That's a virtual private network. This is using Moonshine to get to my VPN, because obviously I have to have internet access to make this happen. But then by using my VPN, it reroutes it. The easiest way to explain it is, and this is ridiculous, but this is the easiest way because this is the most common. If you've ever watched a crime show and the tech person is the person who scores the capture on that criminal, it's because everybody goes over, who's been doing all the legwork and goes over to the computer person and she's tapping on the keyboard and she's going, I can't find them. They're using, a network and they show you the map and it's bouncing all over the world. There's all these little, digital strings that are showing it's here, it's here, it's here. That's literally a VPN. It is using, now the one I'm using is just connecting to Las Vegas. I'm not bouncing over the world, but there are programs that allow VPNs to just bounce everywhere. Terry?
I was going to change the subject a little if it's
Okay,
time.
don't then. Hold it, think, remind yourself, write it down and think. And I'm laughing because Andy was laughing. You watch crime shows, don't you? And don't we love it when the techie wins?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
yes.
tap on the keyboard. Here we go. Here comes the win. So that's an easiest way to explain it. That's a great visual of that. This phone is, to anybody who is trying to get into my phone, they think I'm in Las Vegas now. One of the things that I had not thought about before, but in that travel article, you'll see that it says if you're traveling somewhere that has stricter laws about content, like, I don't know, CSI Miami. I don't even know if that show's on anymore, but let's just say CSI Miami, and you're in Dubai, and in Dubai, they will not let you watch American crime shows. What you do is you log into the Wi-Fi in the hotel, and then you go on your VPN and you log in to Las Vegas or somewhere in the States, and you can now watch your favorite show. That's what it does. It reroutes it so that where you are does not know where you are. And you're like, well, criminals do that all the time. What good is that for me? And there's a simple, silly explanation of why that would be good for you. Watching a show you want to watch and you're in a country where they won't let you watch it. Jackie, go ahead and unmute.
How expensive is that, Betsy?
Not expensive at all. I don't remember, but when I was given the option of it, I went, oh yeah, I can afford that. And
Okay.
I'm, on a fixed income, and I wasn't drawing Social Security. I did, by the way, sign up, so I'm officially
Yay!
retired now. I haven't gotten my first check yet, but I have signed up. So anyway, it's not expensive. I believe it's cheaper than the identity protection program you use.
Okay, all right.
But I'll
Curious.
double check and I'll give
That's
that
okay. I
information.
just
in the email.
have never had an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and here's why I started using it, honestly, is because if I'm on the road for a long period of time, I want to make sure that I can check my bank accounts. I want to make sure that I can check my credit cards. And this was really the one was if I'm using my credit cards and there's a problem, because of course, and here's the next piece, is you want to make sure that you get alerts on all of your spending. So hopefully you have all of your credit cards and your bank account set to give you an alert when there is a purchase made. I used to have a low bar, it was $25, and then I'm like, no. These days, no. I have, whenever I make a purchase, whenever my card is used for anything, I automatically get an alert. It comes up as a text message because I'm going to read text messages. I'm not going to read emails every minute of the day, but I am going to read text messages. So, and Joyce, you're next. So I get an alert. Oftentimes, the cashier will ask me, do you want a receipt? And my phone is already going ding. And I know, no, I have my receipt. Thank you very much. And because I'm tracking it in real time always. Joyce.
So when you're out of the country, unless you're paying extra for an eSIM or something like that, and I was crazy trying to get this eSIM. I don't think you get texts. You don't get texts unless you're actually logged in, like on Wi-Fi. Like I'll go into the hotel and all of a sudden, boom, 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 I'm getting my texts. But when you're on the road, you don't
Yeah.
get.
So what we did, we were in Costa Rica in December, and it was going to be very expensive to get texts to have the phone, but what we decided was for one of us to have it. And so, and that's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. So we decided for Scott's phone to have it because his Apple phone also has the satellite capability, so that if we were somewhere remote, he could make a phone call using the sat phone feature. And so my phone doesn't have that. So what we did was, to the credit card that we were going to use on this trip, we switched the notification text away from me and towards him. I was secondary, but his was the primary text. And so that's a really good point, and I'm glad you brought it up because I would have forgotten about that. And so he got all of the texts. And then when we came back into the country, I switched it back where I'm the primary, because I'm the one who's managing that card. I switched it, so I'm now the primary, he's the secondary. And so anytime the card was used, and I use it also, for my automatic payments for my utility bills. I get a text that says $60 was charged to your account. Yep. That's exactly right. That's what my, whatever bill was for this month. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah, another note while traveling, because I was traveling with somebody else, is that you do have to notify most of your credit cards and whatever debit card you're using that you're going to be out of the country, because she took her debit card and went to a bank, and guess what? She could not get local money, she couldn't get euros because she had neglected to tell her bank she was leaving the country.
Interesting. So I've heard it both ways on that. It used to be that you had to tell, and then I read somewhere, and I didn't save it, that if you're using, for instance, if I used my MasterCard to buy the plane ticket, and
Yeah.
then I go on that trip,
Yeah, they know.
it knows I'm there.
Right.
It knows I'm there. And so I've gotten lax in telling the companies. And one of the companies I called and told, and they said, "Oh, you don't have to tell us that anymore."
Right.
But other
So-
bills, and unless you remember which is which.
Right, exactly. Jackie.
I always go on the settings anyway and do many of the cards and do the travel that I'm going to be gone. But I do know the debit card is one you do have to tell them because you're going to be using it for money.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I would use a debit card traveling anyway. You have less protection.
Well,
I
if you
know,
wanna
I have
get- But that's the only way to get to get
That's right.
money. is use-
And most travel people tell you now to use your debit card, possibly like even at the airport. I always wait for the guy to tell me the safest, because in some countries they're privately owned and they can charge you 25 to 35%.
Yeah.
So I wait on my guide, which is
Yeah.
why it's
Yeah.
protected.
Good point. Very good point. We used it at the airport, and we did use the credit card for protection, and it cost a little bit more.
Mhm.
Protection is costly, you know? So, you know, you weigh your choices, basically. You can also get the money in the airport before you leave, you know, so you can get it at a domestic airport. There are the money exchange places there. You're going somewhere for the major countries, you know, you can get the money here and then travel with the cash as well. Might be more comfortable. Isn't that funny? It looks like Betty's walking on the moon. Or is that the US? No, that's the United States. No, that's Italy. She just walked across the boot. All right, any other points? These are excellent points about traveling. Anything else? All right, we're going to go back to that little article there. And just look at the last piece. So, password manager and two-factor authentication. This one paragraph was repeated literally in every single article that I'm going to send you. So if you're not doing it, it is literally time to do this. I'm pretty sure that most people who've been in this class for a long time do use it. I have 448 unique passwords now. I'm pretty sure that's what my number
Wow.
is. I was looking at it yesterday because I created another one because I'm using a password manager. And I know that for many people, I am preaching to the choir, so I apologize. No, I'm sorry. I have 449. There was another one yesterday. And so in my password manager, which is just on my phone, they're set up alphabetically. It says, for added safety, I just got a new alert at the top of my password manager information. It says, for added safety, encrypt your passwords on your device before they're saved to Google Password Manager. And it says dismiss or set up. Okay, let's see what that looks like. I hit set up. And take control of your password encryption. On-device encryption turns your device into a key that's used to lock your passwords before they're saved to Manager. That means that only you can see your passwords. It also means that if you lose the key, you lose your passwords too. Okay, what's the key though? Learn more about on-device encryption. So I can tap that, and then it's going to bring me an article about on-device encryption. And so I can read this whole thing. There's also a help guide and how it works. And I'm not going to read it while we're here, but I will read it and get back to you. All right, so let me go back to my passwords. I'm going to cancel that for a minute. Go back. All right, so now I'm in my passwords. And so in all of my passwords, I mean, and there's 449 of these. If I tap on one, the first thing it does is it says, so here's number one is enter your screen lock. So this is using my finger to then open it. Okay, and so then it opened it and it says what my username is. This is a camping one, camplife.com username, and notice how long that password is. You know, camplife.com. Is this important? Am I doing anything other than looking for camp spots? Probably not. But when I look at it, it is, and I'll flash it to you real fast. There you go. It's a password that nobody's ever going to remember. You know, you couldn't have written that down that fast. It's complicated. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 characters long, uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and numbers. That's exactly what a password should be. Uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and numbers. And it should be long. And that's a long one. I don't have to remember it. I don't have to deal with it. If I'm going to go to camplife.com, it's automatically going to put it in. There are occasions where for some reason the website, and usually it happens on my computer way more than my phone, where the website doesn't automatically prompt my password manager to put it in. So that's a little annoying, but that's okay because that's when I go to here and I pull up Camp Life, unlock it again. See, even though I was already in it, it again wants me to put in my finger point. I can also use a pin, my phone pin, to get in there. And then if I am in a place where I don't want this to be exposed, like, and I'm not going to write it down, right there, I've got the copy it. So when I hit copy it, then it shows in my clipboard, it's copied it. And so now it's on my clipboard, and then I'm going to go back to where I was in camplife.com.
Okay.
Might as well go all the way through it,
Paste.
camplife.com. And I'm going to go to Camp Life, and here is camplife.com. Now, see, I wasn't already trying to get in. So, and this is where you can make reservations. And it first starts with where do you want to go and when do you want to go, blah, blah, blah. But up at the top, it says log in. So I'm going to go to log in, and it says enter username and password. I don't have to remember. I tap the center of it, and what pops up? Use the saved password for Camp Life? Yes, absolutely. I hit continue. It fills it in automatically for me, and then I hit log in. Log in. Oh, it says login failed. Okay, so why did that happen? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see.
You put in
Oftentimes,
your username.
That happens to me.
oftentimes what happens, and it didn't happen this time, but oftentimes when it automatically fills in, there's an extra space at the end of something.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to make sure that that's not there. So the cursor is right at the end of M. So that's okay. That's good. And then the next one is on the password. I can say show. And when I tap show, I can look and see whether or not it is the actual password. And it looks like the password that I just flipped to you. So I'm going to go ahead and say log in again. It says login failed. Now I haven't logged in probably a year and a half on this. So this, interesting, it has this strong security, but, and I know we're running out of time, but I don't see anybody coming into yoga class, so we're going to finish up with this. So what it might be is that Camp Life doesn't accept a password that's older than a year and a half, 6 months, who knows what their cutoff is. So what I'm going to do, and by the way, before we move on, it says keep me logged in. No, I'm never going to say that because that's not going to keep me secure, especially if I'm traveling. I don't want to stay logged into something that has this much security. No, what I am going to do is I'm going to go to reset password because I can't get in. So I'm going to hit reset password, and it asks for my email address. And so I give it my email address. And then now it says this site is protected by CAPTCHA. So here we go. And it says there's my Google privacy policy and terms of service apply, but I'm going to go ahead and request a reset. And here's my CAPTCHA. Okay, so I like this CAPTCHA. This is not one of those fake ones. So it says, which one is a bus? So I'm going to hit all the pieces of the picture that look like a bus. That one behind is actually a truck. So I'm just going to say that, and I'm going to hit next. Now it wants a second one, traffic lights. Okay, so I'm going to pick the ones that have traffic lights, and I'm going to hit verify. It says password instructions have been reset to your email. Happy camping. So then I would go to my email, I would click the link, and then I reset a password. When my password manager says, do you want to save it? I say yes. And that's how my password manager works. Hopefully everybody's using it.
You always, sorry.
All right, real quick. Let me ask a question that's Linda and Sandra. Terry, do I need to log off of there and continue class without you all?
In a minute, because I really need to say something.
Okay,
And
go ahead.
just be a minute. I know happy birthday to Carol, but it made me think how that means Carol has not filled out her information for this year. And many of you that are only it's very important. When you get the newsletter, it should be at the very top. You can sign in that way, or you can go to the Facebook page. It also has a way to send in get your information. And it tells us about you, and it gives you the opportunity, to be like right now, you're like a number on a page that doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't give us information for almost anything that we do here. It doesn't say, how many times people went to a class. And it also, important thing to me is it asks for your birthday, but not year you were born, but so that we can greet you for your birthday, because I think that's really important. And some of you that are up in Key Largo are here, wander down here some days, maybe not for this class, but so many others. So very, very important. Get registered.
So we have to do that every year?
Yes,
Yes.
every year.
Oh,
I know.
All right. Thank you, Terry. I'm going to go ahead and, you want me to turn you off, Terry?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Actually, you go ahead and do it. So yeah, you go ahead and turn you off. We'll still be here. Okay. So we had several questions. Linda?
Okay, on your password keeper, what you're showing us is on your phone. What if you're using your computer? Is the password keeper going to operate with that device automatically?
Yes. Because my password keeper is a web-based device. I'm sorry, a web-based program. It's not device specific. So my password keeper I use is Google Password Keeper. And because I'm always signed into Google and everything I do is Google, so it's Google. But you can use the Apple password. It's called Key. Your keys, Key. What is it called?
Password keeper, I think,
Keep.
something like
I
that.
thought it was called Key.
It might be. I'm not sure.
Anyway, but yeah. So anywhere that you are signed into your Apple account, that is accessible to you.
I don't know if I really sign into my Apple account on my computer because I don't use an Apple computer. I use the Microsoft.
Android.
Okay, so but you can just have it on and logged in and running.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Good
Thank you.
question. Good question. Carol.
yeah, I just want to be sure that because I haven't ever used it, but the one is on because it's so fast and I never did figure out about the password thing. So I'll just need to listen to it again to
Okay.
really understand it.
All right. Hang on a minute, because now we're not holding class up and yoga class can happen. Let me answer. There was a couple of other questions and people need to go. Did someone else? Sandra had a question.
I have used LastPass
Mm-hmm.
as a password manager,
Mm-hmm.
but I went to get into it one time and I don't know whether I put you have to have a master password.
Mm-hmm.
Well, trying to remember what the master password was a problem at that particular time.
Yeah. So
and,
the challenge, and this is something good that
yeah.
you bring up. The challenge is that when you're using a password keeper, for instance, if I go to a different device and I'm on the internet and I need to get into something that has one of my passwords and I don't have my phone with me, which I always have my phone with me, but if I didn't have my phone with me, then if I don't know my password to Google, I can't get in, right?
Right.
I can browse as a guest, but I can't get in. So, and the challenge with that is that you need to change your main passwords at least every 6 months. I mean, that would be at a minimum.
What do you mean main passwords?
Okay, so are you an Android or an Apple user?
Android.
Okay, so you have a Google password. You have to have a Google password if you're an Android user. You have to have a Google account. You need to know your Google password. So if you were to, let me just go to a blank window and share this screen. All right, so I am at Google now, right? And so here at Google, because when I turned on my computer, I signed in with this Google account. And you see where my cursor is up in the upper right-hand
Yes.
corner? Google account,
Yes.
Betsy Base, bbase1.com. That's my Google account that I sign into automatically because that's where most of my stuff lives. But if I click on this icon, I can now see the other Google accounts that I have access to. I have many Google accounts that I have access to. And so let's just pick, let's see, Upperkeys Life Enrichment. Okay. Now you can see the icon has changed. The
Oh.
wallpaper has changed because this is one I don't use very much, but it's handy. And so this is this account. Everything right now that I'm looking at on this page just has to do with this. If I go over to my Google suite of apps, anything here is about this account. So I know, for instance, if I were to go to my Google Drive here with this account, this is stuff that was last time I did anything here was 2022. Okay. Because this is one I don't use. But there is also, 2018 minutes from a meeting when we first started the Joy Center. We called it the Upperkeys Life Enrichment Coalition. Way too much of a
Wow.
mouthful. Way
Yeah.
too much of a mouthful. But the point is that everything here is about this account. Now, I'm signed in to this account. I can go to this Google account and I can do all kinds of things, which I haven't done because, like I said, this is kind of a holder for me. Passwords in this. If I go to security in this particular account, it's protected, but two-step verification has been on since 2022. Passwords and keys. Let's see how many passwords I have saved here. Password manager. You don't have any passwords saved in your Google account. In this Google account, I have none. In my personal one, 449, right? In order for me to do something with this account, I'm going to have to log in to this account. Like I'm logged in, but it's going to ask for verification that it's actually me. So let's see. Two-step verification is on here. If I click on this, it says to continue to verify it's you, you have to verify. All right. And it automatically, because I have it set here because this is my home computer and I can show the password and there it is. And so that particular password is the one for this account. All right. And so this account is protected by that. If I don't know what that password is, I can't get into this account. This password is also saved on a piece of paper. Okay.
Oh.
I keep the main password for each of my Google accounts all the way back in my desk drawer here. Love it if she was still in the room, but I have a notebook that has passwords. Now I stopped saving all my other passwords. Bye, Jackie, and Lou. I stopped saving all my other passwords, but I do every time I change my password for my main account, I'm going to write it in here. This doesn't go anywhere. This stays buried. Now, if somebody broke into my house, would they find it? Yeah, I'm sure. But there's a lot more valuable things than that. And I can change my passwords. So with your main passwords, and with any password, if you're going to do it that way and not use the password manager, which I don't recommend, but you could, but for the main password, so let's see. I'm going to take the last letter of everything I see here, and make a password. And I'm taking some and I am making them into numbers. And there we go. All right, so I just made a password here. Little X, that's the end of Teresa's name. Big C for Joy Center. A number 1 for Bertucci. I made the I into a 1. The K, I made a capital K. For Linda Joyce Peckman, I used a small N. Then we have Betty Bullock. I used, I'm sorry, small K, capital K. Sandra Thomas, I made the S a 5. On Carol, I made the T a 1. On Marie, I made the E a 3. And with John McGill, I made it a capital L. So now I have just made a very unique password. Now it's not very long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's only 10 characters, which is not great. I would want to make more. So why don't I throw in some special characters? So I'm going to add a star next to my X. I'm going to make a hyphen after a 1. And I'm going to make a parentheses sign before the L. So I've just added 3 new characters. And so now, but most importantly, I have it written down. Okay. Now, when I change my password, I go from this piece of paper. Okay. I can't stress how important this is because we are careless, we are slow, and we don't see what's in front of us. So when you are creating a new password for your master password, you want to write it down, make sure you know what it says, and then type in one at a time slowly. So if I were to type in this password, I would look and I would go X, okay, and I would type it, and then I would do star, and I would type it, capital C, very deliberately and slowly, making sure that this master password is done intentionally. Because then it's going to ask you to repeat it again, write it in again. And that is sort of your fail-safe check. Okay, is it the same? It'll tell you if they match or not. If they match, great, you did it. Now you have a master password. Then you calendar, whether it's a paper calendar or on your device, and you 6 months from now, set yourself a reminder to change your master password. And you change your password. So for me, it would be to change my Google password. Google, every time I go in, tells me because I use the password manager. It tells me when I go to that Google page, let me, I'll go back to share one more time. And I'm going to this particular, now I'm in the Drive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my account here. And I'm going to go, my upper key is Google account. And I go back over here to security. And this shows up on your phone too. It just looks slightly arranged differently. And you can go through your security settings, and I'm sure, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that Apple gives you the same options. Here it says your account is protected. And so it says I can see details. If it's not protected, it's going to give me recommendations. This says your devices are protected when you're signed in. There's no recent activity. Two-step verification is on. Gmail settings, it says 1 sensitive setting. So let's see, what does that mean? Blocked email addresses. There are some blocked email addresses because they showed up as spam. I can choose to unblock them. I am certainly not going to do that. Anytime you get spam, it is potentially malicious, and so you don't want to do that. All right, so now it says I can continue on to my Google account. Not going to do that yet. I'm going to go my back arrow and go back to my security and see what else I can find. Okay, how you sign into Google. My password was changed. Okay, it's a year, so I am out of date on this. And again, I don't ever use this account, so I'm not as worried, but it is time to change my password. All right, skip password when possible. Every time you look at all of this, there is also a way to click and see what's more information about this, and it will educate you about this. I can add more sign-in options, authenticator, backup codes. So Google is giving me options, and for as invasive as it is, as we started the conversation at the beginning, it also gives me lots of options for protection, and this is one of the things I like. What's signed in? My Windows computer. Yes, right here. Where else? My phone. Where else? My tablet. I'm not signed in. Oh, it says you're signed in on more devices. So what does that mean? Manage all devices. So if there's a device that I'm not currently using, like an old computer, then I need to get rid of that. So there's those three. Oh, and I also have a Chromebook. Yeah, it's signed into that too. That's fine. But it's not signed into any other device that no longer belongs to me. So you want to check those things. Going back down, yep, and all of this information. All right, connections to third party. So where have I signed in to other places with this account? On Instagram and Messenger. I'm okay with that. That's a choice. I can see all connections. Let's see if there's more. Nope, that's it. And it is signed in with Google. I can change that. With this particular one, I can change the account. Now that's for a different Instagram account. It's not my regular one. But I can change it and I can make it so that it is not signed in through Google and make it so that it is signed in specifically through a password. Enhanced safe browsing is on. That means that it's going to protect me as I'm browsing. Dark web report. This is one of the things I love the most. So I have dark web report on everything else. It's not on this account, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And so it says, start monitoring your email address for this particular email. And so I'm going to say start monitoring because absolutely this should be. And then it says, let's move this little thingy here. You've added to your monitoring profile. Now choose additional info from your Google account, upperkeys life enrichment, date of birth. This is not my date of birth, just so you know. This was only selected when we created this, but I'm going to go ahead and select all. And I'm going to say allow. So that means that it's going to dark web monitor for this particular email account for this date of birth. And I'm going to say done. Now it says that it has been in 2 data breaches. Okay. It says 2 data breaches have been leaked onto the dark web. Let's view the results. AT&T subscriber data. So March 2024, AT&T was hacked for the 2021 subscriber data. And in 2020, Facebook was. Again, this is for this particular account. So when I click on it and it says, and there's my name, there's my phone number. This was what was breached. And it says suggested steps. So what's at risk here is spam calls. And it says, what can I do? National Data Call Registry, and I can also set up spam protection for either Apple or Android, okay, for this particular one. If I go back to this one, the Facebook user leak, going back up to the top, same thing. Those were the only 2 things that were found. Literally, these 2 things are public information, okay? They're public information. There's no way around that. But do you see how just using this, and this is just the program that I use, it gives me extra protection because I can be monitored. I will get emails that say you've been found on the dark web, what you can do about it. First thing you do when you find yourself information on the dark web is you change your username and password. Well, you don't have to change your username. I use my email address for all of them because I'm using 15-character passwords, complicated 15-character passwords. You change it. When you find yourself in a breach, change it. That's the number 1 protection you can do for it. All right. That was a lot of information.
Yeah.
But the information is there for you to find. If you're an Android user, set it up in Google, just like we just did just now for security. Go look at your security, review it. It'll make recommendations. If you're not using any security right now with your Google accounts, take the recommendations, read before you click, because one of the biggest mistakes we make is we get click happy. What we see in our eyes, we don't allow to process in our brain before our fingers touch shiny objects. Like, click here, do this, do that. That's the number 1 thing is your ability to slow yourself down, take a breath, and absorb what exactly are you reading, and should you do this? Okay?
Oh.
Great week,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you.